Welcome back to the NBA Rundown. On today's show, we're going to talk about Tyrese Haliburton actually being the biggest enigma in the NBA. I mean, for a second, just think about a guy that went from posting 32, 12, and 15 in one game, and then he follows that up the next game with just 8 points in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Hey, by the way, I'm Dave DeBaugh, and this show, the NBA Rundown, has had over 1.5 million views across all platforms in the past year. Okay, so I am here right now to tell you the truth about Tyrese Haliburton, and that truth is he has actually been incorrectly typecast. Now, if you think about Hollywood for a second, and you think about some of the most successful actors in Hollywood, I mean, if you were to take Adam Sandler as an example, the Sandman, of course, has been very successful throughout his career as a comedic actor. Now, he has had a couple drama roles that he's actually pulled off. But if you were to ask anybody on this planet, what kind of actor is Adam Sandler? Of course, the answer would be that the Sandman is truly a comedic actor. Now, when you think about other players in the National Basketball Association, if you go back in the history of time and you look at the NBA, you could talk about Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, who actually averaged just under 20 points a game throughout his career, has never, ever been considered one of the great scorers in the NBA. In fact, if you were to ask just about anybody, how would you typecast Magic Johnson, the appropriate typecast for Magic would, of course, be a playmaker. As for Haliburton, the typecast that he has is largely causing the problems around why people, including a bunch of his peers, are actually calling Haliburton to be a overrated player. The fact is that Tyrese Haliburton is not a scorer. Yes, he has had games where he's scored 30 or 40 points, but at the end of the day, the correct typecast for Tyrese Haliburton is, of course, a playmaker. Now, is he one of the great playmakers of our time? And there's where the enigma lies. Now, there are those people out there that want Tyrese Haliburton to be like Jalen Brunson, somebody that can wake up in the morning and score 30 points. That is not who Tyrese Haliburton is. In fact, during the regular season, this past regular season, Tyrese actually had 13 games. That's 13 games in which he didn't score at least 10 points. And even in the playoffs, at least to this point, as we look towards Game 6 in Indiana, he's had 2 games where he hasn't scored at least 10 points in a playoff game so far. So what do we have when we think about Tyrese Haliburton as a basketball player in the NBA? Are his peers correct that he's overrated? Are people and fans and media like you and me expecting more out of Tyrese Haliburton than what he actually is? In other words, Tyrese Haliburton, who was 3rd in assists this year in the NBA, I think he averaged 9.2 assists. He was behind the Joker. And then, of course, a great basketball player who gets really very little recognition in Atlanta, and one Trae Young, who actually led the NBA in assists this year. So when you take a step back and you think about Tyrese Haliburton as a basketball player, typecasting him as a scorer is absolutely 100% incorrect. If you were to typecast him as a playmaker, you would be spot on. He really does remind me of Magic Johnson a lot during his heyday. In that, Tyrese Haliburton is great, and I want to emphasize this, is a great basketball player at getting other players involved in the game. But what Magic Johnson seldomly did, Tyrese Haliburton does do on a regular basis, which is score less than 10 points. Hence why I titled today's podcast, Tyrese Haliburton is the NBA's biggest enigma. All right, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this particular topic. Real quick, as we look forward to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, while I don't expect Tyrese Haliburton to score less than 10 points a game, and I do expect the Indiana Pacers to actually wrap this up in 6 games, I think what you'll see in Game 6, which you didn't see in Game 5, is a very aggressive, offensive-minded Tyrese Haliburton. Because what also makes him an enigma is Tyrese Haliburton could be a great scorer night in and night out if he wanted to be. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Totally losing my voice on a Friday. Once again, thanks so much for tuning in to the NBA Rundown. As always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.